Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. It's Terry. That's me. And the picture you're looking at is me at a private, invited screening. I don't know if it was a private screening, but a invitational screening to Frankenstein. And here I am at the Academy Theater getting ready to see it. And I thought I would like to share that with you this morning and talk about this great film. How are you this morning? My name is Terri Hardin. I'm a pop icon, a Disney Imagineer. I've appeared in films like the original Ghostbusters, Men in Black, Dune 1984, blah, 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 blah. I also, as an Imagineer, designed and created the Dragon's Lair experience in Disneyland Paris. The list goes on because I'm 68. Plain and simple. So today, I just thought it would be great to share with you and talk to you about some of the things that happened, some of the things that I did over the weekend, which is kind of funny because I'm always talking. If you've done this channel before, and happy right after the weekend day. It's a Monday, and Mondays are always very interesting to me. I just kind of hold on like I'm in a roller coaster and ride the ride as best I can. They just are a very volatile day. So hang in with me. But a few things I just wanted to touch base with you this morning, simply because I thought you might find them interesting. First of all, it is November. And the reason I'm telling you the month is because a lot of times what people will do, I do this, is to start to prepare for what I call my celebrate and fix. So the celebrate and fix usually for me happens in December. And what that is, for those of you who don't know, is that you celebrate your wins for the last year. And then you think about what can you fix, and you kind of have like a journal and you write down, okay, this worked, this didn't. How was I feeling at this time, and how can I fix it? So one of the things that I think we all are experiencing is undue anxiety. And some of us may know why we are suffering from that anxiety or why it comes up when you least expect it, and others may not. But I do know that as a collective world, yeah, there's been, I felt anxious. And I guess because I have a lot of spinning plates in the air. So if you're like me and you have a lot of spinning plates in the air, you have to do this, and you have a deadline that must do this, and you have an elderly parent you're taking care of, or you have children you're taking care of, or whatever's happening in your life, right? And so the best thing to do is to try to plan a day where you can just sort of relax and let everything sort of flow out of your body and into the world. That doesn't mean that you stand on a mountain and you rant. However, if you're alone, ranting helps. But basically what I'm thinking is more along the lines is that when you are so wrapped up, as an artist, I can be very wrapped up in my own magma, meaning that right now I have about 4 deadlines. Yay, because that means I'm actively working. But I have these deadlines that I want to take care of, and yet that I am planning, I want to work towards my semi-retirement. And the reason I want to do that is, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I'm 68 years old. My career is very extensive and was very extensive. I worked with a lot of great people, and I worked for a lot of great productions, and I did a lot of cool stuff, and yay for me, right? But when it comes to you and what you've done, maybe you're feeling a little anxious because you would like to work at doing something you love, or maybe you are working at doing something you love, but it's a little off kilter. Perhaps you are not working at what you love and you're trying to figure out, how can I get there? And you're not quite sure. Maybe you're there, and the dream that you had, now that you're sitting in the seat that you desired, is not all that it was cracked up to be. You may find that though there is a lot of pluses, there's several minuses, and you're trying to weigh, is it worth it? These are the kind of things that may cross your mind right now. There could be some family situations where something has come across a lightning bolt is like I go, and just when you think you're on an even keel, the lightning bolt hits your boat, and you're just hanging on, making sure that you can keep some sort of stability while you're trying to take care of all of these crazy little things that pop up. And then there's the situation about something that happens in your life that puts a crater right in the middle of your life. It's just a big ditch. Mine was the loss of my parents. I believe in heaven. And I have, as my parents got older, my mother passed away at 87. My father passed away at 90. And this has been very recently, the last 3 years. And I had to take care of them before. And then I had to deal with probate because my father just wouldn't do a trust. And one of the things I want to assure you, if you're in this situation where you're hanging by your fingernails and you're wondering, why is this so difficult, and why am I changing as a human being? I'm not necessarily sparkly as I used to be. I'm still sparkly, but there's a little luster coming off the diamond that wasn't there before. And so you ask yourself, what is this? Am I suffering from? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Is it depression? Blah, 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 right? And the good news is, find some things that can take your mind out of it. And so my husband really, really, really wanted to see Frankenstein. And October is a crazy month for me because of pumpkin sculpting. Yes, I am a pumpkin sculptor, pumpkin judge. And so my Octobers get very, very full because people would love to sculpt with a pumpkin judge. And thank you for that. All of you who came out and trained in my classes, I want to thank you for coming out and giving yourself over to me for a couple hours and allowing me to teach you a different style that maybe you didn't know how to carve before. And it was a great time. It was a great time, but it was a busy time, and I don't recover like I used to. And I think that's one of the things that I'm learning is that after a whole weekend of being present, whether I am speaking from the stage or I am teaching, I need like a day to recover because I'm shot, and I'll get up in the morning and it'll be as though, I had a bender. At least I think it's what it's like because I've never been on a bender. But I will tell you that my head feels cottony. I feel sleepy. It kind of equates to the films that I've seen where people have said, oh, hangover. I've only had one in my life. And it was quite a surprise because I thought I was in control. But, it wasn't anything crazy. But I had gone out to celebrate New Year's Eve with my husband, and he got this wine that was so delicious that before I finished eating, we had already almost finished the bottle. And when I saw the bottle was about this much left in it, I was like, oh, oh no, because it was on an empty stomach, and I knew I was going to pay for it later. And I did. I was at a bed and breakfast, and the woman said, I've got just the thing. And she called it, I think she called it push. But my husband may disagree with that but I think it was called something like push. And what it was a concoction that she had made that you drink, and it kind of wakes you up and helps you to deal with that kind of an anti-hangover thing so that I can enjoy New Year's Eve, because I was ready to just go to bed and see the New Year in from my pillow at that time. But I digress. My husband wanted to see Frankenstein. Let's talk Frankenstein and Guillermo del Toro. Okay, so I met Guillermo del Toro in 2009 personally. I was teaching a pumpkin class at my local, the people who hired me to do it was my dog grooming group of people. And on a Monday when they were off, I gathered them together and we carved pumpkins together on their day off in the grooming facility. No, really, we did. And they were very excited to be carving, but I got a call from my agent and she said, Guillermo just called and wants you to call him. Now, I had been doing a commercial called the Foster Farms Chickens. Those of you who have not seen the Foster Farms Chickens, and I might be able to find a picture, I'm not sure, but I'll dig. I never know what I'm really going to be talking about. And now my let me just grab my cord is kind of short. Let me unshorten my cord here. There we go. Hello. Now I can bring it in and just take a look and see if I can show you. I don't know if I have any foster parents pictures here, but if those of you who live in California, there's these two chickens who drive around in a beatable car, and I played the passenger. We haven't done them in a while, but yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find them. I'm going to look in my favorites to see if I might get lucky, but I don't know if I will. But anyway, if not, I will just tell you about it, and then we can go from there. But I play this Foster Farms chicken, and my cameraman is named Guillermo Navarro. Okay. Now, those of you who know Guillermo del Toro pretty well, you've kind of looked into, who he uses when he works and so on and so forth. One of his favorite cameramen was Guillermo Navarro. So you have Guillermo del Toro, director, filmmaker extraordinaire, and then you have Guillermo Navarro, an amazing cinematographer. So, and the confusion is, my agent says to me, Guillermo called. Well, I had been doing the Foster Farms chickens for years. We started in 93 and we officially stopped around 2007. Although you can go to YouTube and catch these commercials. They're quite funny. And there's been rumors that we might get to do them again. I hope so, because they were a joy to do. But forgive me, I'm scrolling through here to see if I can show you some example about what they look like. But I'm not sure I can, because you never know. And I don't want to go through, all of the giant amounts of pictures that one has when they have it in their phone. And why can't we not categorize these? Mainly because my mind is a freeway, and that isn't easy. Oh, here we go. I've got a picture for you. So I did have one. So this one will show you when I started the Foster Farms chickens. When we started, I did it for the character shop. That was with an amazing creator, Rick Lazzarini, and shout out to Rick. Hey, Rick, who is also retired, by the way. I mean, we're getting to that stage, aren't we, where we're doing, or we want to do, our own thing, and I'm no different. So I'm looking to see during the Celebrate and Fix what I need to plan so that 2026 becomes the year I make this transition from being an active artist in a lot of the things that I do with clients to transitioning to painting and drawing and sculpting for myself. I mean, if you're out there, feel free to comment on if you're doing that, or that's what you'd like to do, or you're already, making a living doing what you're doing. But I really want to paint. I've fallen in love with painting. I was first introduced to painting in 2020 during the pandemic. And I just went to a YouTube channel, and started following some amazing artists. And was it successful? No. And I often try to show on my Patreon page when it doesn't work. So I'll show you when things don't work and when they do work, mainly because I think just showing you that all the successes that I have might make you feel, as a person out there looking in, wow, that's just, I couldn't start that way. And that's why I want you to see that it doesn't happen overnight. Most of my paintings were really terrible as I tried to learn the material. I started with acrylics because I was invited to paint some time ago for the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. And I think before the pandemic, I was invited. Whatever Chuck Jones Red Dot Auction 4 was, because that's the one I first attended. And now it's Red Dot 18, I believe. Maybe it's 17. But it's a red dot auction where artists like you are invited to do sketches or paintings or sculptures or something. And you donate it to this auction, and it's auctioned off to help creativity and in children and all people survive. So basically, it's a center for creativity. They teach classes, and they teach classes in animation, illustration, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think one of my dreams as I get to be semi-retired is to be a teacher help to teach at the Center for Creativity. I want to donate my time and teach, or whatever the process is. I just want to be a part of that and help further young people into art, because nowadays many of you are 3D artists, right? 3D artists and digital artists, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to ignore one portion of uh, creation, I think, is kind of a shame. So for me, I don't do 3D art, but I do digital. So I'm often using my iPad to create concept art. So when I'm trying to figure out what will a painting be, or what will a sculpture be, or what will the pose be in the beginning, I'm sketching on the pad. I've also done art like that. Anytime I need to do kind of a, I don't want to say commercial art, because that puts the wrong thing in your brain. But I want to say that any kind of art, like for example, when I design a pin, so I design a lot of pins for the Chalk Walk, which is Children's Hospital of Orange County, because I'm a very active Disney artist, that I am a part of a particular team. I came across this team years ago when I spoke at the Once Upon a Classic Club, which is now no longer together, but the people who used to form it are still. So we have, many of us have come together to create a team called Mickey's Walkers. And I'm happy to say that for the past, what has it been, 6 years, we've been top fundraisers. Now, that doesn't mean top fundraisers for everyone. It means in our division, which is really good. So it's about a group of people who come together, and they're a team, and they're a community type team. They're not like Blizzard or Disney or KTLA 5. We are a little group of people who have come together, and we're growing. And through our fundraisers that we do and our creativity that we have been able to be top fundraisers. And I think the thing that motivated me to do this was my captain. Anyway, Frankenstein. You'll notice that if you've been on my channel, I tend to digress, and I apologize for that, but I don't apologize for that. Does that make sense? No? Okay. Another thing about me. So, Guillermo del Toro and Guillermo Navarro. All right. Guillermo Navarro was our cameraman on Foster Farms. And let me just show you the Foster Farms chickens really quickly. Hello. Thank you. Here we are. There we go. And I'm over here. Hi. So what you're looking at here is a photograph of the two of us. This is me, myself, and lead chicken Drew Massey. Hello, Drew. Who still, I believe, is very, very active with the Muppets still. He's a very talented puppeteer, and I think he's still very active with the Muppets. I, however, occasionally work with the Muppets now, but I worked really solid for quite some time. But now things have changed, and it's good. It's fine. I'm a very busy person. So they know where I am if they need me, and I'm more than happy to be a part of the team. Otherwise, go and enjoy yourself, and I support them 100%. I loved Jim Henson, got to work with Jim Henson, and that time was good too. So as you can see, these two chickens are standing, and they are, this is a sequence. I'm not quite sure what sequence this is, but we've done everything but been on top of the Times building, to dancing, to being in Buenos Aires and performing, basically for some fabulous commercials that we all wish would come back. Honestly, not just me, but everyone loves these. They're so funny, so cute, so sweet. The Foster Farms chickens. They're called the Foster Imposters. And no, they don't have names. But Guillermo Navarro was our cameraman. So when I get this call that Guillermo wants to see me, I'm thinking to myself, it's Guillermo Navarro, because we've known each other for years. But it turns out that my agent says, well, I don't know. He just said his name was Guillermo. He was interested in talking to you. And he, here's his number. And the only thing I can tell you is that he's Mexican. Really? Both Guillermos are Mexican. So now, not a good clue for me. So I figure I'm going to call them up and pray to myself that if Guillermo del Toro answers the phone, that I don't pass out. Huge fan of Guillermo del Toro. I loved Pan's Labyrinth. I'm obsessed with it. And then I'm also good friends with Doug Jones, the amazing performer who was in Hellboy, who has been live. You know, he's on a Star Trek. I think it's still going on now. He's so busy, it's hard to keep track of him. But he and I did a film years ago together called Monkey Bone. You may have heard of it. And he played a Yeti, and I played Betty Bovine. Betty Bovine, a puppet. I had someone in the suit, and then I articulated the head, and I said, "Three balls for $1. Step right up." And it was a great experience. But got to meet some amazing people like Doug. And Doug, as you know, has gone on to do some great stuff because Guillermo just loves the man. And what's not to love about Doug Jones? So as I understand it, Doug was supposed to be the Frankenstein monster for Guillermo del Toro, but there was a conflict in his schedule. How about that? Anyway, it's a nice thing. It's a nice challenge to have. I believe, you know, this is one of those things where you're just grateful, right? You're grateful for the work, and good for him. But I met him, and I loved him in Pan's Labyrinth, all the characters that he portrays. He's got an amazingly strong, thin body, and so he fits in some of the best costumes that Guillermo, I mean, whatever Guillermo comes up with, the guy just seems to do it. And it's just, well, I don't need to tell you, Doug Jones is amazing. So what I'm looking for now is to show you that I call Guillermo up, and it's Guillermo del Toro. I mean, all I had to do was make sure I sat down so that I didn't pass out, because he answered the phone. And then he said something that we all want to hear as an artist. "I'm your biggest fan. Terry, I'm your biggest fan," is what he said. And I said, "Would you please put it in an email?" And he did. He put it in an email for me, which I'm most grateful for. Now I know I'm not prepared, and forgive me, but now I'm trying to see if I can find a photo of the thing that I did. I'm looking to see for him. So he tells me he's my biggest fan. And he tells me it's because of some work I did for Disneyland. I did some Pirates of the Caribbean pieces for Disneyland in 1998. Yeah. And he happened to be, I guess, you know, strolling down and checking them out. And he tried to get them to sell them to him, but they wouldn't do it. Disney wouldn't do it. And Disney told them that everything was sold out, which he wanted to buy the originals, but they wouldn't allow him to do it, which surprises me, because Guillermo, usually when he wants something, you can't refuse him, because he has this infectious smile, this lovely joyfulness about him and everything he does. And I don't know how they were able to refuse him, but in any case, they did. And as I continue to look and see if I can find an example of this that I wanted to share with you, I don't know if I'm going to be so lucky, but I am giving it the old college try here. He reaches out and tells me he would like to have me recreate the captain's bed sequence of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I go, okay. And I begin to design it. Now, the first thing I say to Guillermo del Toro is, I cannot copy the one that I did for Disneyland, because it's a limited edition of 10. And I don't like to, I don't know as a collector if you've ever seen this happen, but an artist that you love says they're retiring, or they say they're not going to do it anymore, or Disney says that's it, you know, and so you buy like the pirate bed, which I did in 1998, and then all of a sudden that artist has recreated that exact same bed again, and you paid a lot of money because there were only 10, and you're not happy about it. I mean, bottom line, as a collector, you know, you don't want someone to come out with something that you were collecting and was a good is worth a lot, and then all of a sudden it's worth nothing because they've made another one. So I really don't do that. And I told Guillermo this. No, really, I did. And I said to him, I said, listen, I can't create the pirate's bed the way you saw it at Disneyland. But I can tell you that I'm happy to create a new one because Disney has done a change in things. What Disney had done is they had put Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean. And I said, the one lovely thing about the Disney company is that, and I'm still looking, I'm just trying to find a picture of my captain's bed so that I can show it to you so that you have a little bit of visual aid. We may or may not get that lucky because I'm going down the list and it's, well, I can show us here. This isn't exactly what I was hoping for, but at least you can have this. So this tiny little picture here, if you look at it right here, let me turn it sideways. Let's see if it'll go. There we go. And that makes it a little bigger. So here is Guillermo and I at his home with the pirate bed. So right between us as we're doing our thumbs up bit is me delivering the captain's bed for Guillermo del Toro. And I promise you that I will track down those pictures and maybe I'll show you them to you next time. Because yeah, that it's amazing. It's like 1 inch to the foot. So the one I did for Disneyland, first of all, was 3/4 of an inch to the foot. Not my problem, just the way it turned out. And then he wanted the bed. Johnny Depp is put into the attraction. And I think to myself, Disney does not usually go, let's just plunk Johnny Depp in these various positions in Pirates of the Caribbean. They usually close down the ride, they refurbish the entire ride, and then they add your Jack Sparrow, yeah? And so that's what they did. And so the pirate captain changed. The time I did it in 1998, he had long sleeves with cuffs to the wrist. He had a high collar. And what else did he have? I think that was it. Lots of pillows around the bottom of the bed because the water of that carries the boats through had chlorine in it and started to eat away the fabric. Chlorine and fabric, not good. So it started to eat it away. So what Disney cast members did is the ones that were keeping the ride up and looking good was to put pillows if there was tears. They just added pillows. So if you were close to the changeover where they put Jack Sparrow in, there were pillows all around the captain's bed where he's looking at the map with the magnifying glasses, the one I'm talking about. If you're not aware, I shouldn't assume that you all know Disney, but most of you do, right? Anyway, I walked the ride, and when I walked the ride as an Imagineer, you can kind of work that out. As I walked the ride, I saw that they had changed the skeleton. So now the skeleton had a lacy collar, and his shirt was open, and you saw the bones. And then they were pulled up so you could see the bones right here and right here. And it was really gorgeous. You know, now you got this more skeleton feel of the captain, and I really loved that. Plus, over by the harpsichord, kind of in the dark, it was kind of weird, is they had a dead parrot, which a skeletal parrot. And those of you who ride the Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean a lot, as I do, automatically you notice this dead parrot, and you're like, wow, that's cool. Well, I rode the ride several times to do this particular piece for Guillermo, which took me about a year to do. At the time Guillermo commissioned it, he was working on The Hobbit. He later left the Hobbit production because for whatever reason, he had 13 other things he was doing and it was conflicting a bit too much, whatever the reason. Doesn't matter, but he wasn't home. He wasn't in California. And so I told him I was just going to keep working and I was going to send him photographs, which was fine. He was very happy. But I kept some things back. I held some things back. Anyway, the day that we gave it to him was 2010, Thanksgiving. And he actually, this is a true story, guys. I actually, with my husband, sat with him and his wife, and we had Thanksgiving dinner there. So present Pirates of the Caribbean piece for him. And then there we were standing in that picture that you saw. And we we shared Thanksgiving dinner, which was a pinch myself moment, if you can imagine. It was definitely a pinch myself moment. But he's a very lovely person. And now Frankenstein comes out. And unfortunately for me, the big push for him to promote Frankenstein is during October. I've already said, not my month. And definitely my month, but not my month to go off seeing a movie or watch any television or anything. So we think it's over. My husband really wants me to go with him. And I'm like, look, you want to see it on the big screen? Please, please, please go if you get the opportunity. Don't wait for me. October is always a whirlwind month that I am very, very busy. Don't get a lot of sleep. November, first few days is when I try to catch up on my sleep and make sure I didn't make myself sick. You know how it is when you've got a big show coming up or shows or, you know, it's not like October was a big surprise for me. Oh my gosh, why is this so crazy? It's been crazy for me for about 15 years, maybe more. So bottom line is we kept getting these invites to Frankenstein, not personally from Guillermo, but because my husband is with the Academy as an art director and I am with the Screen Actors Guild as a performer and actor. So we get these invitations. Come see this, you know, because word of mouth is still one of the best ways to promote a film. But lo and behold, just as I was about to see it in the theater, I saw this announcement that said that Guillermo was going to have it for 1 week only, the first week of November. And although I was really tired, I knew how much my husband wanted to see it. So I started to look. It was at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. I started to look up times to see it. But my husband, who is an art director and a filmmaker himself, retired. And he says to me, he says, well, it's for Netflix. And so when Guillermo was shooting it, it was for the Netflix screen. I said, really? Wow. So if you view it on your screen at home via Netflix, this is actually the way, as my husband said, Guillermo prepared it. If you're a Del Toro aficionado, please post in the comments that you know, anything you want to say that you may want to, you know, enlighten me on. I'd love it. But just as I was about to book the tickets, sure enough, we got an email that invited us to go to the Academy Theater in Beverly Hills and see it on the big screen with a Q&A. Now, I am Q&A crazy, and especially if it's Guillermo, it was a chance to wave at him. A lot of times at these events, I don't get the opportunity to go up and shake his hand and say hello, but I am able to call and leave him a message and also email him and say, fabulous job. I gushed over Pinocchio. I loved Pinocchio. I'm a stop motion person nut, and I thought it was fantastic. But if you've heard me before on this channel, then you know that the reason I thought it was fantastic, one of the reasons, is because Guillermo's stuff is always different and unique. And I really love that if he's going to tell a fairy tale or a story, it's not going to be along the same lines as Disney, or it's just not going to be the same. It's going to be his version. He puts his whole soul into his movie makings, and therefore it's different. And I'm always, always happy to see it. Now, let me be clear. Oh, I hate saying that. Let me just be honest with you. Sorry, got a shiver. Let me just be honest with you. I don't love every movie that Guillermo does. Okay. I just don't think, I mean, maybe you're out there and you can, but for yours truly, I can't. I don't expect to love every movie, but I am going to see every Guillermo del Toro movie because he's not only my friend, but he's an amazing filmmaker. Or he's not only an amazing filmmaker, he's also a friend of mine. I mean, like, for real. So I wanted to see Frankenstein too. But after my husband told me of the venue it's meant to be on, I was fine to stay home and watch it on Netflix. But my husband, we got this opportunity. So I wrote to Guillermo and I said, hey, we're going to be at the Academy and get to see you. And I didn't think we'd get to see you speak on Frankenstein. And I have to tell you that it's very different. So some people have said to me, it's Mary Shelley-ish, meaning that that might have been the launch point, but it went into Guillermo's world. And some people have said, not to my taste. Other people said there were things that weren't quite right, blah blah blah. And I'm here to tell you, I really don't know what that means. Okay, Frankenstein is a story that I really had trouble getting through when I was younger. The writing was difficult for me to do. And so I had a book on tape that I listened to from. So the book was read to me. I just got through it easier if it's read to me. It's kind of like a Tales of Two Cities. I love Tales of Two Cities, but when I tried to read it, wasn't happening. So, but there are those like my husband and my best friend actually who love the telling of it in the Mary Shelley way. And they were kind of hoping maybe Guillermo would go that route. But I knew after seeing so many Guillermo del Toro movies that it was going to have his fingerprints on it because he's the filmmaker. And that's what I love. Honestly, that's what I love. So for me, I loved Frankenstein. I thought it was really, really, it was great because it was different. It was great because it was unusual. It was fabulous because he looks at every detail when he makes a film. His lighting is impeccable. I love his editing. I love his character developments on most characters. There are a couple in this movie I wasn't quite sure what was trying to happen there, but honestly, I overall I like this film very very much. It's different. If you're going to the film, you're going to see Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and you're expecting the universal monster Boris Karloff Frankenstein, forget about it because you're not going to see that monster. That monster is that monster for Universal, and Karloff did a fabulous job. I think it's a love letter to me because it uh it has more heart in it. And that's all I'm gonna say. You were able to see it starting November 7th, and here it is the 10th. You just go to Netflix and check it out. Will you promise me you'll check it out? And then come back and comment to me what you thought. And here's another thing. We live in America, don't we? So if you don't like it, I'm not going to be offended. Okay. I find that I have some friends that get really upset when I tell them I didn't like a certain movie, but I can't like everything, and neither can you. But the fact that I don't like a film that you love doesn't mean that I don't like you. It just means I didn't like the film. And that's it. I'll talk about it. And I have a right to talk about it because I live in America. So if I didn't like it, I'm going to talk about the points that I didn't like. And you're welcome to tell me about the points you did like, but chances are we're not going to agree. You're not going to make me like it, and I'm not going to make you not like it. And that is not my goal. So the next time you're with a friend and they say, gosh, I really don't understand, fill in the blank here, please don't get angry at them. Hear them out. And then say, well, I loved it because blah, 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 blah. And then on the other side, hear them out. You know, I get offended right away from a movie I feel that has been bloated to the extent that they're just trying to get the money out of my wallet. I don't like being made aware of that when I'm watching a film. So I really get frustrated when there's like a 3-part movie or a 2-part movie when one was sufficient. Okay? Case in point, and you if you're angry, if you be angry, but be polite about it, okay? Don't attack the person, attack the issue, right? Don't say you're just stupid, because that's attacking the person, correct? Say, I just don't understand how you could not like it because I like it for the following reasons. And I can say that's great. But some of the reasons you stated are the reasons I don't like it. So that's the situation. And coming up on November 21st is Wicked. And I adore the play, which was done in 2.5 hours. Okay. And this movie to me is over bloated and just feels like a money grab to me. There are so many areas that I feel were completely unnecessary in the film that I think if they just had edited it down, one film was enough. But because there's so many of you that love this film so much, Disney realized that if they poofed it out into 2 films, they could get twice the money. This is what I feel. Okay? This is what I feel. That's it. All right. I'm also someone who doesn't like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've tried to watch it 3 times and it just doesn't appeal to me. However, there are movies that I like that don't appeal to other people. Like I'm not really good with superhero movies like Marvel and DC, but I'll tell you that I really enjoyed Venom. I love Venom. Some people didn't. Okay, I like it. I love it. I watch it. I have it. Um, and there's a couple others like there's a couple others that I really really like that my husband just can't understand why I like them so much. And then I also like 1950s horror films because I was a little kid. My first scary movie was The Crawling Eye, 1956, I believe. And I love black and white films, and I love these really kitschy movies. One that you would, if you get a chance to see it, and you're going to look at me like I have 3 heads, is The Giant Claw, which was done in 1957, I think. And it's about an alien creature that they don't believe a pilot has seen. And so the pilot goes on to prove that he saw this thing as big as a battleship. Anyway, The Giant Claw is an hilarious movie because what happened is they filmed it here in Hollywood and then they sent the specs for the monster, the creature, to Mexico and they built the creature. And when it came back, well, you tune it in and you'll see what that's like. And I love this movie. In fact, I think this is a perfect movie that if you have a little child, 3 years old, they're going to love it. And they're going to feel like they're watching a movie that is a lot more, that doesn't speak directly to kids, but is not nightmare material. Does that make sense? The Giant Claw. And it's one of my favorite. As a kid, I loved it, loved it, loved it. But when I was working for Mattel, I mentioned this to a guy because he said, I really want to introduce, monster movies to my child, but I don't want to trauma my child. And my child is 3 years old, but he's really wanting to see a monster movie. And I said, the movie for you is The Giant Claw. Watch it first as a parent. And after you've laughed your butt off, then go and share it with your son. And he came back about a few days later and he said, Terry, that's the best movie. He says, I'm a little sick of it because my son keeps watching it over and over and over again. But it's just a great way to introduce a young person to something and you don't want to traumatize them. Because let's face it, there are movies out there. In fact, coming is a Predator movie, which my husband and my son are very, very excited to see. And I'm kind of like, meh, I can wait. And so I'm thinking maybe what I'm going to do is encourage them to go together. Not like I don't want to go, but it's going to be me and my husband and my son. And I was just like, maybe you should have a father-son day at Predator because I have deadlines and I've got to get them worked on. In fact, one of my favorite deadlines coming up is my little bird project. And I'm going to show him to you. I'm going to show you a couple of things. I've got to make his little feet, but here he is. This is my little bird. And what I do is I do one of a kind things for people. They commission me to build or create or sculpt characters. And then I also have limited editions. I'm a cachet artist, which means if you have first editions, first day, what is it called? I'm losing it. But anyway, the first day of issue, there it is. First day of issue of a stamp, and you have an envelope and you have the stamps on it. You want it illustrated for whatever reason, you can reach out to me. And I know some of you have been reaching out to me and you haven't heard. That's because I had a few bumps in the road and I promised that I'll reach out to you. But basically, this little bird is very special. It's for a 15-year-old boy. And I'm very excited about him. This little body that you see here is from the Enchanted Tiki Room at Disneyland. And it was shattered. I mean, shattered. It was the fiberglass was super old and shot. And I believe probably the person that gave it to him, he probably, my guess is he took a tour and somebody saw what a wonderful, amazing 15-year-old boy. Name is Jack is. And they gave him this little beat up bird, but it had no head. Okay. It had no head. It was just a body and a hole. And it was broken, shattered. So my Terry Hardin Designs company, that's me and three other people that are together, a very small little company that I'm very proud of. And we've been in existence for a while, since 98, I want to say. Yeah, 1998. So we've been a very busy little group of people. And the way it works is that we come together when we have a project, and then we go out to the four winds when we don't, mainly because they're very, very talented artists themselves. And so I just book time with them and they help me. So I wanted to do this for Jack, and we're working on this little board. And one of the things he asked me to do was to do the head. So here, let me just turn a light on for you so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. I know this is a little bit bright for you on me, but this isn't about me right now. So here's the little bird head that you see. This is done in Chavant. That's one of my favorite clays. And I did this, and my mold maker, Christian, just loves to see if he can preserve it after the mold. He doesn't like to destroy the things, which I'm very grateful for. But then he attached the head for me, and here it is. And this is, what can I say about this? This is hand painted right now. So he's been hand painted. The feathers you see here are from the actual tiki room. So we really don't want to lose the original things. But this is a background bird. So it's like if you're a dancer, this is like if there's 10 rows, this is like row 10. So very limited movement. Maybe the beak moved and it just opened and closed, and that's it. Maybe the head turned. I know the head turned. But in this case, Jack just wants it to be representational. So there was no mechanisms inside. There was no way. I mean, I could have figured out how to animate the bird. Okay. But that was a bit bigger than his budget. So he basically just wants a representational bird, and he wants to see what that's like. And so that's what this is all about right here. So now what I've got to do is I've got to sculpt the legs. And I got this really cool component that that one of my colleagues, Christian, I told you about him before, came up with. And it is this 2-part epoxy thing, which you can sculpt. It's 2 parts. It takes a little bit of time to dry, but you can sculpt right on to here, and it hardens very strongly, and then it can be painted. So it doesn't need to be molded. Okay, the head needed to be molded, hence you saw the clay. This 2-part stuff, I don't know who it's made by. It's called Epoxy Sculpt, but there it is. Yay! Anyway, that's what I'm doing today. That's my job today, is to use Epoxy Sculpt and sculpt my little bird. So this has been a really beautiful, fun project for me because, like I said, I can be anxious, I can be stressed, and that's kind of the situation. And then I also got to see Frankenstein. So I was going to work on the bird a little bit today, but my Monday is getting away from me, so I'm not able to do that. So that's the deal there. I also saw an amazing auction, a Disney auction with Heritage. And I was told that Heritage is the place my collection needs to go to. So again, because I'm getting on in years a little bit, and I'm not ancient, but I'm noticing that my colleagues like Guillermo del Toro are having their collections, selling some pieces from their collections for whatever the reason. For me, if my collection ends up being stored somewhere, yeah, then I think it's time for me to let it out to people like yourself who will take care of it. I did this back in 2007 with my Star Wars collection. I was there first day, and I started to collect all things Star Wars, and it helped me with my career. It changed my life, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was an amazing film. The room stretched for me. All of a sudden, I realized my hobby was not my hobby, but my actual art. And I went on a mission to find a way to break into the film industry, to be a sculptor. And you are looking at her right now. Puppets, everything. I am a Swiss Army knife, and it served me well. Bottom line is that once I started collecting all this stuff, when I got married, my husband said, "Do we have to have all the Star Wars stuff that you have all over your house?" Because I had the posters that were signed, and I had photos, and I had toys, and I had all kinds of stuff. Most of my collection was one sheets, but in 1980, when I stood in line for 3 days to see Star Wars, I mentioned that I collect posters, and people from all over the world sent me posters after seeing me on the news. Just people are so generous, and I love them deeply. I love people. So, I finally, when after I got married, I stored my posters and I stored my Star Wars collection, and it was just sitting in storage. And I thought, gosh, I'm having nightmares about water. I'm having nightmares about fire. I'm having nightmares, just nightmares in general. Why don't I see if I can get representation and sell my collection? And I did. Wasn't with Heritage and wasn't with Van Eaton, but I'm at that point again. I'm at that point again where I've been told by various people, like Guillermo del Toro, that Heritage is a great place to. I don't think Guillermo did it through Heritage. Now that I think about it, he might have done it through Bonhams, maybe. But you may have also seen that the Muppets, Brian Henson and the Muppets just kind of downsized their collection. And it's not, we love this stuff when we love this stuff, and it's not that we don't love this stuff. But what I want to tell you about it is that there comes a time when you want to pay it forward and get it to people that will take care of it and love on it. And in the case of the puppets and things, this was a rare opportunity for you to own a piece of Henson and a character or something if you had major bucks like $23,000 or something. But the bottom line is then that money can go to your shift and change. Henson is going through a transition where they're no longer going to be at the studio in Hollywood, which is a heartbreaker. But they've made the decision that they're going to consolidate. And in order to consolidate, they're going to have to, I would imagine, make it so that it works for 2 divisions instead of just 1, or maybe 4 divisions. But it used to have one major, like the performing aspect of it at La Brea, in Hollywood, or La Brea and Sunset La Brea, I think it was. Anyway, the old A&E studios and Chaplin studios. That was where we would perform. That was where we did performance capture. That's where we did our puppeteering with the Big One system. A lot of that. And then the building happened in another location, not necessarily on that property. Some little things, but the big stuff was in another location. So now they're coming together. So I would imagine by selling off a little bit of this collection to you who will love it, like it's, I mean, this is what we want. If we're going to part, not get rid of, thank you so much. Just to remind me, I have something else I better do. If I do that, then, this is the deal in the situation. So, so I know I've talked to you a bit today, almost a full hour, but that's why I set an alarm so that I don't go on and on and on. But bottom line is, when I saw Guillermo and he was starting to sell off some of his collection, Rick Baker a few years ago did the same thing. And then Henson is doing it too. I thought I'd like to do it too. And I started to inquire. I actually started inquiring about a year ago. And so many people said Heritage is the way to go. So this weekend, Heritage had an auction celebrating Alice and Mark Davis's private collection. And they were, because Alice has passed and Mark has passed, 2 major icons in the Disney history. And they had all this great stuff available for 3 full days. And I had never observed Heritage in action when it comes to Disney. And a lot of my stuff is Disney stuff. So really excited about what I saw. Loved the way that they handled things, loved the way they auctioned things. And I bought a couple pieces. So when I get them, I will share them with you. I can't share them with you now because they're not yet mine, but I'll show you. And then I will talk more about the auction if you're interested. Post in the comments Monday. Post in the comments, capital blah. Post in the comments if you'd like to hear about the auction. I'm happy to talk to you about it from a layman's point of view, because I was just like everybody else. I was out in the big world waiting to bid on it, hoping to get it. And I had a budget. I didn't have a lot of money. But my goodness, there were some things at this auction that sold for $1. True, $1. That's it. Not a lot. Not a lot, but there was some, because it was huge. It went over 3 days. It was amazing. So next time, maybe I'll talk to you about the auction. I may wait until I get my stuff because I'm really excited. I was looking for a signed piece by Mark Davis and a signed piece by Alice because they were very good friends of mine. And I just wanted some of their art. Silly me. I could have just asked them. I'm sure they probably would have let me have some. But I didn't think to do that because they were my colleagues and I was working with them. And so that's what I was working towards. But I was successful. I got 2 pieces I really, really love. And we'll talk more about it when I get them. Okay. Guys, have a lovely week. I will see you here. Same bet time, same bet channel next week. And I don't know what we'll talk about, but we'll talk about something. Maybe I'll even work on my current piece if you want to see that. But post in the comments what you'd like to see, please. And I look forward to seeing you. Also, please join my Patreon page. Let me just pop that up real quick. If you want to see me live, talk to me live. Every week I do a Zoom call and talk live. That's the main place I talk live if I'm not actually appearing at a venue. Here's where you can find out about it. Please check it out. Your voice needs to be heard. Do something nice for someone else. It'll make you feel a whole lot better. And until next time, hugs and kisses and